She went in for routine knee surgery. She never expected to leave her body. The near-death experience of Dianne Sherman. What you are about to hear is a real account. It belongs to a woman named Dianne Sherman, who has shared her story publicly in interviews, talks, and podcasts over many years. This retelling is based on her own words, told with respect for the details she has chosen to share. Nothing has been invented. Nothing has been exaggerated. This is her experience, as she described it. I want to tell you something that took me years to fully understand. Not because it was complicated, but because what happened to me in 1981 was so far outside of anything I had a name for, anything I had been taught, anything I thought was possible, that my mind needed time to catch up to what my soul already knew. I went into the hospital for routine knee surgery. I was supposed to be in and out. No risk, no drama. I had waited 10 years for that procedure, and I walked in that morning feeling grateful, hopeful, completely unafraid. I did not walk out the same person. What happened to me in that recovery room, what I saw, what I felt, and what I was told before I came back, changed everything. Not just how I think about death, how I think about being alive. This is Dianne Sherman's story, and she has shared it so that you can hear it. It was 1981. I was in my early 30s, and I had damaged my left knee in an accident 10 years before. 10 years I had waited for this procedure. And when the morning finally came, I was ready. I was grateful. I had no sense of anything difficult ahead of me. I remember lying on the gurney in the hallway, waiting to be taken into the surgery suite, and I was cold. Not just a little chilly, I was racking with cold, shaking. Even though I'd already had my pre-op shot, the kind of cold that gets into your bones and won't let go. I've since come to understand that experience on a different level, but in that moment, I was just cold, lying there under the hallway lights, waiting. When they wheeled me into the surgery suite, one of the nurses noticed I was still shaking. She brought me a warm blanket and laid it over me. That was the kindness I remember last. That warm blanket, that one small human gesture. And I was already gone before the anesthesia even took hold. When I became aware again, I was in the recovery room, and there was commotion. I could feel it before I could make sense of it. This cluster of activity coming from the bed to my left. Doctors, nurses, movement, a kind of urgency that was impossible to ignore. I remember thinking, I kind of don't want to know what's happening over there, but I can't stop looking. It was the strangest kind of curiosity. There was no energy behind it, no fear, no anxiety, just this detached, almost floating awareness that something was going on nearby that had nothing to do with me, or so I thought. I watched them moving back and forth around this patient, and then I heard one of them say a name, my name, and I thought, that can't be right. I'm right here. I'm awake. I'm fine. I don't understand. I tried to get someone's attention. I spoke to whoever was standing closest to me. I said, "Excuse me, I heard my name, but I'm right here. I'm right here and I'm fine." Nobody responded. Nobody even turned toward me. They just kept moving, kept working, completely absorbed in whatever was happening with that patient. I assumed they were busy, that they hadn't heard me, that I'd get someone's attention in a moment. And then something shifted. I realized I had moved. Without walking, without deciding to. I was now at the foot of the bed, standing at the foot of the bed, looking directly at the patient everyone was surrounding. And I realized, as I was looking at this patient, that it was me. I was looking at myself. I just remember thinking, how can this possibly be me when I'm standing right here? I'm watching. How can that also be me, lying there? I didn't have any fear about it. I want to be clear about that. I was confused, genuinely bewildered, but not afraid. Not for one moment afraid. And then I moved again, upward, without effort, without any sensation of choosing to. I was floating, rising up into the corner of the room. And from that corner, from up near the ceiling, I was looking down at myself in the bed below. I remember thinking, how curious is this? How can I possibly be viewing myself from this angle? I don't understand what's happening. But even then, even in the middle of something completely impossible, I wasn't terrified. I was mesmerized. That's the word I keep coming back to. Mesmerized, present, paying attention, just not overwhelmed. And I've thought about that a lot since. About how the mind handles seeing your own body being worked on from the ceiling of a hospital room and simply doesn't shatter. I don't have a full answer for it. I only know what I felt. And what I felt was, this is happening, and I am here to witness it. While I was still taking in what I was seeing, still watching myself from that corner, I felt something begin to pull me, an energy, not violent, not aggressive, but persistent. Something drawing me out, away from the room, away from the body in the bed, away from everything I could recognize. And as I moved, I saw what was ahead of me, blackness. Total, complete, absolute blackness. Surrounding everything I could see in every direction. No edges, no reference points, no light from anywhere, just dark. I need to tell you something about me and darkness, because it matters for what comes next. As a child, I was deeply afraid of the dark, not in the passing way that most children are. Genuinely, specifically, bodily afraid. Afraid of not being able to see a streetlight through the window. Afraid of a room with no light at all. I had carried that fear for decades. It was in my body. And here it was, right in front of me, moving toward me. I remember trying to resist. I can only describe it as arching my body, trying to pull back from it. But the pull kept moving me forward. I couldn't hold my ground. I couldn't stop it. And so I did the only thing I could. I kept looking. I kept searching through that blackness for anything, any glimmer, any edge, any point of light that might tell me there was something on the other side. And then I saw it, a tiny glimmer, so small I wasn't sure I was really seeing it. A pinpoint, far out in the blackness, almost too faint to trust. But I looked at it. I kept my attention fixed on it. And as I did, it began to grow. The glimmer grew. It didn't just get brighter, it expanded. It started to fill the space where the darkness had been, spreading outward in every direction until everything I could see was illuminated by it, until I was illuminated by it. I have tried so many times to find the right words for what that light felt like. I'm going to try again now, knowing I'll fall short. It was a brilliance I had never seen in my life. Not blinding, not harsh in any way, just a quality of light that has no equivalent in ordinary experience. And the feeling of being inside it, of being held inside it, was overwhelming joy, ecstasy, a sensation that was entirely physical and somehow entirely beyond the physical at the same time. The light began to separate, like walls of illumination on either side of me, and I was moving forward between them, floating through this corridor of light, and then I saw them, the monks. 2 rows of beings, one on either side of me, facing inward, facing me as I moved between them. I had been raised Catholic. I grew up with the imagery of religious life, robes, hoods, processions, candlelight, and what I saw looked, to my eyes, like monks in long brown robes with hoods, faceless beneath those hoods, completely still. But what I felt coming from them had nothing to do with religion or ceremony or anything I had ever been taught. What I felt was completeness, wholeness, a sense of being cherished, and I know that's not quite a real word in that form, but it's the closest I've ever gotten. Cherished to the very core of who I was, unconditionally. It felt like coming home. Not home like a house or a place, home like something I had been searching for my entire life without ever quite knowing what I was looking for. Every relationship I had hoped would fill a certain ache. Every achievement I had reached for, every moment of connection I had tried to hold on to, none of it had come close to this. This was what all of it had been reaching toward. The one who stepped forward. One of the beings stepped out from the row on the left, and when I say he felt fatherly, I'm using that word knowing its limits. He felt protective, deeply kind, caring in a way I had never experienced from another person. There was a quality of love coming from him that asked nothing, expected nothing, carried no history and no disappointment. Just love, directed at me, complete. He spoke to me. He said, "You can't stay. You have to go back. You have a child." And my response, I'm not ashamed of it, was no. No, I have to stay. You can't send me back. I'm finally home. I'm finally feeling the connection I had always been looking for my whole life. I wasn't being dramatic. I was telling the complete truth. I had spent my entire life, through marriage, through work, through family, through everything I had built and reached for, looking for exactly this feeling, and I had just found it. And I was being asked to leave it. He repeated it, gently, without frustration, without impatience. You cannot stay. You must go back. You have a child. I thought about my daughter. Not in the abstract way we sometimes think about the people we love. I thought about her specifically, practically, with a clarity that was unlike anything I had ever experienced in ordinary thinking. Total clarity about everything. I thought, who would take care of her if I didn't go back? My parents were both gone. My ex-husband, I knew in that moment, with that complete clarity, wasn't the right one to raise her. My sister was alive, but I knew she didn't have the capacity to care for my daughter in the way she needed, not the way a mother could. There was no one. The moment I had that realization, the moment I understood with complete certainty that there was no one else, I was back in my body. It wasn't a grand decision. It wasn't a heroic sacrifice. It was a mother understanding something clearly in a place beyond argument. And then, back. I woke up in my hospital room, not in recovery. I had been moved. I had been in recovery for over 3 hours for what was supposed to have been a simple, routine arthroscopic surgery. No one explained what had happened. No one offered a reason for that time. All I was told was that my surgery was successful and that they'd found more damage than expected and had repaired it. I felt changed. I couldn't find words for it yet. I was still foggy from the anesthesia, still piecing together where I was. But somewhere underneath all of that, in a place the fogginess couldn't reach, I knew something had happened that wasn't on any surgical report. And I noticed something else. I wasn't in pain. The woman in the bed next to me had had far less surgery than I had. She was in serious pain. She was struggling. I wasn't. That night, they had me up and walking on crutches. The doctors had never seen a recovery move that quickly. I healed faster than the surgery seemed to warrant, faster than anything they expected. I have come to understand that as part of the gift of what happened to me. In 1981, nobody was talking about near-death experiences. There was no Google, there were no podcasts, there was no community of people sharing what had happened to them on the other side. I was largely alone with what I knew, and the experience didn't come back to me all at once. It returned in flashes, in pieces, over months and then years. I worked with healers and mentors. I learned to meditate, and in those quiet states, in that space between ordinary thinking and something deeper, I found I could reconnect to what I had felt in the light. Not fully, but enough to remember, enough to trust. I think the gradual return was a mercy, honestly. Had it all arrived at once, it would have been too much. Too big for the ordinary mind to hold without fracturing. The abilities came gradually. Over months and then years, I found I could sense things about people I had no ordinary way of knowing. At first, it overwhelmed me. Eventually, I found my footing, and I built a life's work from what came back with me. What I want you to know. I have told this story in talks, in interviews, in quiet rooms and on public stages for over 40 years. Not because I need to, because I believe people need to hear it. The thing I most want you to take away, the thing I come back to every time, is this. We are cherished, unconditionally, without exception, without judgment. Every single one of us. I was shown that. I felt it in a way that no human experience had ever given me. And when I came back, that knowledge came with me. Not as a belief, as a certainty that lives in my body. There is nothing to fear on the other side. And there is nothing to fear in living either. Pay attention to your heart. Pay attention to the things that give you joy, not the things you're afraid of. Trust in life. That's what I came back to tell you. I went into a hospital for a routine knee surgery, and I came back with the only answer that has ever fully satisfied me. Not from a book, not from a church, From wherever it is that we go, when the body stops and something else, something that has always been there, finally gets to speak. If what you just heard stayed with you, if something in it felt familiar in a way you can't quite explain, I want you to sit with that, not to analyze it, not to decide immediately what you believe or don't believe, just to sit with the feeling of it. Dianne Sherman has been sharing her experience since 1981. You can find her original interviews, her talks, and her work online. The links are in the description below. Her story belongs to her, and she has given it generously to anyone willing to listen. If this found you today, maybe it found you for a reason.